just opt out. And SharePoint replace structures. Okay. What does work? Okay. So some positive. All right. A CIO with a tech vision for the company. You've heard this over and over today. I won't harp on it. If there is no vision, I'll tell you the anecdote though. I sat down at like a kind of an open house or like a forum with the CIO, and he had, because he was in my SharePoint chain of command or whatever, he had been copied on a message about just the tiniest little thing about SharePoint. There was something, I don't know if there was an error message, somebody had a web part on a page or something. Anyway, it was something very, very simple, very trivial. And he got copied on it. And he basically, in front of his entire IT department, said, I just don't understand this whole SharePoint thing. I would have loved to have helped you out, but that's on you guys. In front of your whole IT department? Really? Awesome. So the CIO's not behind it. Who is behind it, guys? Not even most of your IT department. So get the tech vision, get SharePoint on the technology roadmap well in advance. Don't let them stair step Office behind SharePoint. You don't want to be on the previous version of Office when you're rolling out the next version of SharePoint. It needs to be reversed, maybe.
What if you're in a situation where the person, instead of a CIO, is essentially an executive from another background who has been given SharePoint? In our organization, until very recently, all web activity was not under information technology, but under communications.
Okay.
And so this person was a complete neophyte. He had no idea what technology was all about.
Sure. Oh yeah, there's a lot of, that's actually a European model where they trade out, like the head of marketing becomes the head of IT.
And we did what we can to educate him, but it was all Greek to him. And so what recommendations do you make for
you have to start
or moving him into that direction?
Yeah.
You can't control who's in charge of it.
You're right, and that's a very good example. You're right, and I've seen that example happen. We were just fortunate enough that the marketing person was really excited about technology. So if you've got someone who's kind of in this rotational thing, they're not going to be CIO forever. It's just kind of something that they're doing because this is their 3-year stint of doing it.
Assigned to them, and they're terrified of technology. Terrified.
Then don't try to have a CIO blog. Don't put them in a room full of people where they can say, I just don't get this whole SharePoint thing. Unless that's going to be how you're going to market it. Hey, if we can get the CIO to use SharePoint and get excited about, and do like a Jenny Craig thing, right? Do like a Jenny Craig thing where the CIO comes in and says, all right, I'm going to start working out, I'm going to start learning SharePoint, you guys are going to see my progress as I go. Let's do this together. That would actually be awesome. I'm going to go write that down because now I want to do that. So you're going to have to find a way to use it. You're just going to have to find a way to turn it around. Office integration, so again what I just said, I think it's very important to be on the same version of Office as you are on SharePoint, period, end of discussion. And I know it's an IT nightmare, but you know what? Ugh. Make sure you're on the right version of Office. Pilot group, pilot group, pilot group, pilot group. Yeah, it's like testing your code in production. SharePoint user group, very important. And these are like weekly calls. And this is how you're going to start helping people help one another. So you're literally going to just have a weekly call. If 5 people show up, fine. If 50 people show up, fine. But you have it every week, same time, same place, without fail, which means you better have more than one person in charge of it. So that every single week, you've got a program, a couple of things that you're going to show them, and you can repeat those. It doesn't have to be new. You can repeat it because new people will come into the company. So you kind of have this rotation. I usually make people start out with a program of about 6 to 8 weeks, and then we repeat it 3 times, and then we come up with another 6 to 8 weeks, and then repeat it 3 times. So you're changing it out every 24 weeks. So what's that, twice a year? That's not a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal to design it, but it's not a big deal to design all of that up front for them so that you can just hand that off. And then you'll start to see leaders come up in that group, and you've already got the content that needs to be delivered next week.
So that's like presentation, like tips and tricks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in our company, we have something similar where once a week, on Thursday lunchtime, a number of people from different businesses who are the SharePoint owners just talk about topics about SharePoint.
And at least there's one day a week when they know they could ask questions. So this is for your people who probably aren't going to call the help desk, but you're still making sure that they get the help they need. Okay, 15 minutes. Site audits. Don't bother with governance if you're not going to go back and check and make sure they're abiding by the rules. This needs to go in your governance plan. What does the right site look like? Because if you don't know how you want them to use SharePoint, how on earth do you expect them to figure it out? You need to know how you expect them to use SharePoint. And when you set up a site for them, you need to approve it based on these 5 site audit models. You basically need to give people a choice. We will give you a site, but you have to tell us which rules you want us to check for in 6 months, every 6 months or so. Yeah, I'm serious. That's what